Hello everyone. Welcome. I have not done a live on YouTube in a while. Um, Today's live is going to be centered on some questions that I have been receiving about the 21. Um, Many of you asked me questions, but as any other priestess would tell you, or priest in the 21 would tell you, we have to receive permission to answer certain questions. And the two questions in the title, where does the 21 originate from? And the other question of what is initiation and who is allowed to be initiated. Those are questions that I had to receive permission from my guides in order to give you an answer. In the 21, now there are many lineages of the 21, and I want to make that clear. And different lineages of the 21 may have a slightly different perspective. However, the truth of the matter is that a lot of mixing has happened in the process of moving from the African region to the Caribbean, okay? A lot of us originated from Africa and from Europe, and our blood was mixed through different circumstances of history. Some people may not accept that different circumstances of history happened, but the truth of the matter is that mixing of blood between Africans and Europeans happened in the process of the slave trade. Yes. During the slave trade, we had a majority of two peoples that were usually traded because of the location of where most of the people were taken from the west coast of Africa. We know that, according to history, many of our African ancestors were taken from the west coast of Africa, including the Yoruba tribes and the Congo tribes. Now, the 21 is a little different because a lot of people are very knowledgeable of the Yoruba Ifa traditions, which encompasses the Orisha. But many are not aware that the 21 beings of light, the mysteries of the 21, were Congo beings, very similar to the Orishas, but with their own powers that were then synchronized with Catholic saints due to the mixture of blood that happened between the African beings and the African peoples and the European peoples. I myself am a mixed person. I am a portion African from various tribes. I actually have Yoruba and Congo blood from a mixture of that happening. And I also have European blood, okay? So therefore, in my lineage, because we were so mixed, there is Christ and there is God, an ultimate creator, but there is also the service to the Congo spirits that are synchronized with the saints. Just like in Catholicism, some of the pagan gods were synchronized and became Catholic saints. Example, Saint Bridget, who is actually a being from the pagan traditions, and was, when the time came to change from believing in the Celtic and the Druid and those pagan traditions, Saint Bridget turned into Saint Bridget rather than Bridget the goddess. If you speak to other people of the pagan traditions, you will understand that there is always a synchronization when change happens. Now, a lot of these Congo spirits are where the 21 beings of light or mysteries come from. Now, these Congo spirits are tied And many of them even represent themselves, saying that they are different paths to different people. So, when I say paths, meaning that if you were from Africa, they presented themselves in a way that you would recognize them because they looked like you. And if you were from Europe or China or South America, then they would represent themselves in a different way to be able to come together and be able to help you understand who they were. Example, Archangel Michael is synchronized with Beliebelkan. Beliebelkan is the Congo spirit energy that comes as a path of Archangel Michael. You have Anaïsa Pie, who is synchronized with Jesus' grandmother, the Saint Anne. You have Saint Anthony, who is synchronized with the Congo spirit known as Papa Legba. You have Saint Expedite, who is synchronized with the Congo spirit known as Gede Limbo or Gede Limbo. You have Santa Marta la Dominadora, which very interestingly enough, she actually does not get synchronized with a Catholic being because she remained in her Congo form for many people. However, some people mistake her for Santa Marta the White, who is actually a completely different being. And I will explain that later in another video that she has allowed me to do. So you also have, for example, Archangel Raphael has been synchronized with some of the Native American spirits from the Taino culture. You have Santa Barbara, who has been synchronized to a spirit similar to the Yoruba spirit Chango that is actually in the Congo spirit realm, who is also Chango, but with an S rather than a C. So you have different synchronizations depending on where you are. So you have different synchronizations in the Yoruba tradition and you have different synchronization in the Congo tradition. Here's where it differs. So the Yoruba focuses more on the Orishas. The Orishas are from the upper west side of Africa. They are the Yoruba people. You have the Congo, which is in the middle west of Africa. And these is where the 21 divisions of beings of light come from. Now, these peoples did mix, so many of us now in the Caribbean mix the practice of the Orishas and the practice of the Congo spirits because we have both bloods. So we can be initiated, many of us, not all of us, can be initiated in both the Yoruba tradition and the Congo traditions. However, there is a separation. The 21 focuses on working with the Congo beings, and the Yoruba focuses, which is now Santeria, focuses on working with the Yoruba beings or the Ifa tradition. I was born with both lineages. However, I have, like I've explained before, I am not initiated in Santeria. I am initiated in the 21 because that is the lineage that I was brought up in, primarily. Therefore, you will see Catholic saints and you will see Catholic beings synchronized with our belief in the Congo spirits as well. Because we believe that they are not just one path, but that there are many paths to these beings. Now that we have established that, they have allowed me to tell you what is the process of initiation. And I'm going to be reading it off because this is from me channeling Martha and my assistant writing down the answers to what she gave. The answers she gave in regards to these questions. The first question is, who is initiation meant for? There are different levels of initiation, many different levels, that give you different access and permissions into the spiritual realm. The spiritual realm has, you guys, you could see them as different levels or different doors that you can go through depending on which initiation you have gone through. Now, the non-initiate has the ability to pray for themselves, to pray for their family, to do magic for themselves, and to have the basic level of connection into the spiritual realm. The initiation process is meant for people who have been called and who want to accept the gift of being a priest or priestess to work with others. In other situations, you have initiations done for protection and initiations done for servants of the 21, and plazas, which are kind of a Spanish word for assistants to the priestesses. So there's different levels of initiation. So some people may be initiated to be a priestess. Some people may be initiated to be just a servant of the guides. Some people may be initiated just to be readers, just to be psychics. Some people may be initiated to assist the priestess in ceremonies. Some people may be initiated to be a caballo de misterios, which is a spirit vessel, which is able to hold the spirit, or the loa. Some people may be initiated to simply be a cleanser, a liberator. Others are initiated to be a conjurer or a creator of magic as well. But each of these initiations, you have to get permission from spirit to do them. And with each initiation, a new level of ability comes into play. So a new initiate does not have the same abilities as an initiate who has been initiated for various levels. And the age doesn't really matter. The length of, usually they say you at least need 7 years to develop your process. But there's different levels of initiation between a priest and a high priestess or a caballo de misterios. So there's different initiation ceremonies that happen in the process, okay? These are the answers that I got when I was speaking with my spirit guides. Initiation is a setting in place to start your spiritual practice. To start your spiritual practice, not for just for others, but for yourself. An initial initiate is not allowed to go directly from being an initiate to working for others. There has to be a process, okay? The initial process of initiation is to accept your gifts, to be handed your abilities by your guides, and to open the path for you to connect with your abilities. Which is why when you first initiate, you may start just being a reader, meaning being able to read the cards, or being able to decipher candle messages, or be able to read the crystal ball and things like that, or be able to read the palm. There's different types of readers. There's also clairvoyant, clairaudience, claircognizant readers as well, as you become, when you first become an initiate. As you develop and your guides open up different doors for you to the spiritual realm, then you may be able to step up to the next level of initiation, which allows you to do spiritual work for cleansing, for liberating, for removal of negative things. But if you don't have the permission to do certain things, you can actually end up taking on the problems of those people you are trying to assist, because the spirit has not yet given you permission to go into that level of the spiritual realm. To protect, usually a partial initiation is done as well to protect people who are being haunted or assaulted by negative entities. To also protect destined light workers, okay? Sometimes a child is initiated to protect them because they are being attacked by demonic entities. Whether you want to call them demonic or dark entities, whatever you want to call them. they are initiated sometimes for that reason. You should never initiate for selfish reasons. When you initiate for selfish reasons and for just the mere need for power and prosperity and abundance, selfish reasons can be destructive when you're initiating. And the more that you abuse the spirit, the more that you abuse the spirit's permission, the more that you can get yourself into some trouble. That's why a lot of people who start in the process and then they start doing conjure in the negative, a lot of people lose their sanity because they are not doing what the permission has been given to do. So initiation should never be done for selfish reasons. Okay. A person is initiated, now what? Okay? First, at times the godparent whom is initiating will be asked by the spirit to teach the basics to the initiate. So you will be taught the basics. First of all, you're not supposed to set up a divine altar without being initiated because your godparent, it may be different in other traditions and other pagan traditions, but in the African traditions, the godparent is the one that is supposed to set up the altar for you. They're supposed to synchronize every being that you're putting on that altar with the African being that you are working with and synchronize their energies to your statues. Otherwise, you're just serving a statue. Okay? Now that after the basics have been learned, because your godparent is not responsible for teaching you everything, because the path of your godparent may not be your path exactly. Every single worker has a different path. Okay? Different workers have different paths. Therefore, your godparent is just meant to teach you some of the basics of the tradition, help you set up your altar. That is at least what my guides have told me. And after the basics have been learned, it is up to you and your spirit guides to actually continue to develop you as an initiate and take you through the different doors, often through channeling, often through meditation, often through dreams. Your spirit guides will develop you themselves because they want you to be able to open the doors that were specifically made for you as an initiate and for you as a light worker. In the 21, we are known as spiritists because primarily we work with spirits. We work with beings of spirits of light, I would hope, for the most part. Some people choose to work with spirits of darkness, but all of my spirits are spirits that are spirits of light, that want to assist the world, that want to help the world move forward, that want to help you be the best light worker possible. But that must come with a certain form of organization and order, because chaos is what a lot of evil chooses to bring into the world. Yes? So now, another question that I had from my guide, which I asked my assistant to ask while I was holding the spirit, is, are initiates bonded to their specific culture, or are they chosen? And the answer to this was, initiates are chosen. Although many people whom were born from African bloodlines and from those types of other bloodlines, usually it is kind of assumed that you will assume an initiation in that particular bloodline. Initiates are chosen by the spirit. So what does that mean? That means if you have bloodlines, whether you have bloodlines or not, Usually, if you have the bloodline, it's more likely that you will be chosen to be an initiate of that tradition. However, I have personally seen spouses of African, what the spirit calls allies, will be chosen, and they may not even be from the same culture, by the spirits of the Congo and the spirits of the Yoruba tribes. Every person that spirit chooses has a different purpose. Some are, their purpose is to be chosen to serve. Some are chosen as messengers. Some are chosen as liberators. Others are chosen as conjurers. Others are chosen as spirit vessels that hold the spirit. So there is different reasons why different light workers are chosen. Another question I had, because of the fact that many of us that come from the African diaspora have, is can we be initiated in multiple traditions? And the answer is yes. But as a rule of thumb, what my guide has said to me is that you must at least give 7 years, 7 to 14 to 21 years, depending on what feels right for you, to the particular beings you're already working with. Such as, if you start in the 21, give your 21 beings 7 years at least to develop you in that realm. And then you may, if only if the Orisha comes to you, then can you become initiated in the Orisha path or in other paths if you choose to. Okay? If other beings decide to start calling to you, it is very likely that once you start serving a particular set of beings, such as the 21 beings of light that are synchronized with the Catholic saints, you will start to notice that there will be other beings that will be like, hey, she's serving them. I want to get some of that too. I want to get some of that love too. I want to help so-and-so develop that as well. So you may have another being from another tradition come through. Let's say you're working with a 21 and all of a sudden you start seeing Yemaya. All of a sudden you start seeing Oshun in your dreams, or you start seeing Oya in your dreams, or you start seeing Ogun or Shango in your dreams. That can happen, where they can come to you as, hey, just wanted to let you know that I'm around. Doesn't mean that you can automatically start asking me for things, but it means that you can, or set me up an altar, but rather that it means that you can start learning a little bit about me and possibly thinking about becoming initiated in the Yoruba tradition as well. Okay? Another question that I get a lot, because it is different in the 21 than it is in Santeria. Can initiates speak to spirit other than through their godparent? In Santeria, from my understanding, you have to go to your godparent all the time for certain things. Because also your godparent tells you which level you're at, because it's very hard to read for yourself. Your godparent will tell you which level of initiation you're at and what you have been given permission to, if you do not hold a spirit that can tell you that yourself. So if you just are a new initiate and you don't hold the spirit, whether that is the being in the Yoruba tradition or the being in the Congo tradition, then you do have to go to someone who has more experience and more knowledge. However, that doesn't mean that the spirit cannot come to you directly and bring you a message about yourself, your life, and your own development. Everyone can speak to spirit in their own way. But remember that only certain people may receive an answer that is, as we are used to, verbal rather than symbolic. When you are trying to offer things to spirit, you have to realize that there is a level of offerings. You must start with your ancestors, which are connected to your bloodline first. And then if given permission, and only if given permission, you can start having a statue of a being which has been blessed and prepared in your home, and you can start serving those. However, you have to remember that if you are not initiated and you start to work on other people, you will be subject to absorbing a lot of the person's negativity that you are removing, because that is not the level that you were allowed to be at yet. That is why in African spirituality, self-initiation is very rare, because you need someone to open the first door so that your guides can continue to open the other doors for you. Another question that people have asked me, and I asked during this session, was how will we know which spirit being has chosen us? A lot of spirits come to us through symbolism. They will come to you in dreams. They will come and communicate during sessions of meditation. Many times this spirit will communicate through a very good reader that you are meant to work with them. They will tell you, usually very good readers, if they have been initiated, can tell you which beings of which of the different African practices is walking with you, if they are allowed to give that information to you. Now, that doesn't mean that initiated people have a monopoly on spirits. You can pray whatever spirit you would like to pray to, but remember that when you get a statue, if you're just praying to the statue may not have that energy there, okay? You're still just praying out loud and waiting for someone to give you a response. Spirits can speak to anyone whom any of the beings that they have been born under. A lot of the times you will hear the phrase, I am a child of Santa Marta, or I am a child of Saint Expedite, or I'm a child of Michael, or I am a child of Anaisa Pie. That means that you were born under the protection of that particular being because of your chosenness. Not everyone is born to be a light worker. Not everyone is. Because honestly, if everybody was born to be a light worker, what would be the point of being a light worker? So there are particular souls that have gone through certain number of reincarnations, whether you are aware of them or not, which you usually become aware of your reincarnations after you have been initiated and after you have reached a high priest or high priestess level. You will become aware of more of your reincarnations, as I did. I was told a lot of my different reincarnations, not all of them, but many of them. Spirits may also approach people that have had faith in them. Yes? So if you have had a lot of faith in them, they may approach you and they may say, because of your faith, I am going to take you under my protection, and you can do that. So that may be a different circumstance. If you have had faith, I've had people from Europe who have amazing faith in the Congo spirits, such amazing faith in the Congo spirits, and they are allowed to become servants. They become initiated as servants of the beings, as protected by the being. So when you become a servant of the being, you are under the protection of that being. You are basically at not that one is better than the other, but you're kind of at the lowest level of initiation. You're not really supposed to be a light worker. You are just simply, you have special access to that particular spirit for petitioning them and praying to them for yourself and your family. Now, if a person, another question I ask is, why would a spirit communicate directly through someone else? Now, If a person is open to receiving a message, a spirit will communicate directly to you. If you are not open to receiving the message, then the spirit will communicate through someone who has a higher initiation than you. A lot of the times communication can be missed if you have been clouded by ego or by dark entities around you. Now, the last thing I asked is, what is the best way to allow beings of light to communicate with you? It is very important for you as a priestess or priest or initiate to raise your vibrations. Raise your vibrations through food, sunlight, moonlight. Remember that prayer, meditation, faith, trust is all very important, and it's all part of being able to develop your initiation. Now, there are different levels of permission, and those I'm just going to go over with you very briefly. And then I will take a few questions regarding that, regarding the traditions. There's different levels of initiate, and these are just some of them. They're not all of them. You have a non-initiate, which helps, who is given permission to the self, who is given permission to do work for the self. You have a new initiate who is given permission to do work for the self, maybe their families, maybe their friends, maybe as a reader only. Then you have a priest or priestess who has permission to do work for themselves, their family, their friends, reader, and sometimes can begin and to really kind of develop that part. And then you have initiate levels that allow you to be a spirit horse, spirit vessel, to hold the spirit, to become a cleanser, to remove these are different levels, to remove evil spirits, to remove demonic entities, to initiate others, to become a teacher. There are different levels of initiation that you need for that, and those initiation are usually done for you by your guides after you have had your initial initiation with your godparent. And sometimes they will ask, your guides will ask your godparent to do certain initiation ceremonies that will, in the physical realm, be an initiation ceremony, and in the spiritual realm, it will be received as an open door to a new level of spirituality. Now, the last question that I'm going to answer here, because I don't want to make the video too long, is some people have asked what islands or what beings are with different people from different islands. That depends. You have to remember history. You have to remember that we weren't slaves when we first were taken from Africa. A lot of us were priests. We were of royal bloodline. We were engineers. We were very, very powerful people in our own communities. But you can know which bloodlines you're connected to now through many very different ways. You can do it scientifically, or you can do it spiritually by asking your guides to give you that information. You have to remember that anyone who came from the Yoruba, Western Africa, all the way down the Western African coast, whether it's Yoruba or Congo. Like I said before, Congo spirits are usually the ones that work in the 21, and then you have the Yoruba spirits, which are the Orishas, that work in the Santeria side. Now, as per which countries in the Caribbean have these beings, they're mixed. You have some that are in Puerto Rico. You have some that are in South America. You have Congo spirits in South America. All because you have to remember the entire new world is mixed. If you lived and you grew up and your whole family grew up, or a lot of your family grew up in the new world, meaning North America, Central America, the Caribbean, and South America, you have to remember that you are most likely going to have mixed bloodlines. The bloodlines are no longer pure as they were before. We have mixed bloodlines because of the mixture of blood between the European and the African diaspora, whether it was by willingly mixed or whether it was a forced mixture of blood it happened, and we must accept the fact that it happened, and we must move on and start towards building and re-accepting the fact that it was not Jesus that took our African spirituality from us. It was those people who lived in violence and who took our African parts of our ancestry from their native land and brought us to the new world. And now we are a mixture of the European and the African. And instead of fighting that, we need to learn to embrace both sides of ourselves. Multiple sides of ourselves, because some of us now, not only were we African and European, but then when we came to the Caribbean, we were mixed with the Taino peoples, and you have Haiti, Dominican Republic, you have Puerto Rico, you have Cuba that had Native American peoples already living here of the Taino Arawak tribes, and they became mixed, and now we have the 21 as it is known in many different places throughout the Caribbean. There's many different lineages. The closer you are to Haiti, the more that the 21 resembles Vodun. The further away you are, the more that it resembles the Native American traditions. So it depends on where you are in the Caribbean. One lineage or one practice is no better than the other, and I can only tell you from my own lineage's experience and my own lineage's perspective. I am not speaking on behalf of other lineages, because other lineages have their own representatives, and I am speaking on behalf of my lineage and what my spirit guides have shared with me. I hope that this cleared up some questions for you guys. Like I said before, I did this video because my spirit guides have finally allowed me to do it. And videos like this I don't do often, because I have to receive permission to do them. If you enjoyed this video, go right ahead and hit a thumbs up, so that way, because that is how YouTube shares information, is if people like it, then they share it with other people that need to see it. Also, if you would like to contact me, you can contact me on priestessmay.com. I also have an Instagram, which is instagram.com/priestess_may. Although there are many fake accounts, the only one on there that I have is priestess_may, which you will see will say hi Priestess May in the description. Many blessings to you. Thank you for joining me, and I hope that this is able to answer some of the questions for you and will help you on your spiritual path.